So you want to charge more for your product photography, or maybe you want to double your prices because you might be feeling like you're undercharging for your work. I get it, and I have been there so many times. So in this video, I'm gonna share some things that are gonna help you with these goals. Okay, so your quality of work is obviously a factor, but I'm not going to address the quality of work in this video. So let's just say that your quality of work is at a good level, you're happy, but you know that you're undercharging for your product photography and you'd like to increase your prices. And when I say increase your prices, this could mean like doubling or tripling your prices. And so part of the solution to charging more for your work is actually approaching every project the same way. So you gather your information from the client, you use a pricing calculator to carefully map out each phase of the project, and then you communicate your value via a professional proposal showing your client attention to detail and what is required in their project. So I want to ask you something, and feel free to leave your answer in the comments. When you're pricing up a project, how are you currently approaching it? So perhaps you're pricing it based on what you charged for your last project. Oh, I charged $1,500 for 10 photos, so I'll just charge $1,500 again for 10 photos. Or maybe you're just like pulling a number out of thin air that feels good to you. Oh yeah, like I know $1,000 feels okay, like the client should go for that. Now, both of these options are actually not the correct approach to pricing a project. And the main reason for this is because you're not thinking about the client's needs in those two scenarios. You're not actually considering what will actually be involved when it comes to your time and resources in the project. Because each project is specific to the client, right? Which is why custom quoting your work is, I think, one of the best ways to approach your pricing. And your final price should be based on a clear creative brief where your client has actually given you information about the project. So you might normally charge like $1,500 to $2,000 for 10 photos, to which you might require a half or full day on set. But if your client requires more complex styling and therefore you require 1.5 days or 2 full days in the studio to get your work done, your pricing will most likely have to double to cater to those creative requirements. So in this scenario where you need 1.5 to 2 full days in the studio to shoot 10 images, if you quote based on your last project of like $1,500, you could be leaving around $2,000 on the table. And so if you're doing this for all of your projects, you can see how this approach doesn't support a profitable business model, and you'll eventually burn out because you're undercharging for your time. And so by going through this process of gathering information, carefully quoting up the project, and issuing them with a professional proposal, you're also showcasing to your client your attention to detail, and it shows that you actually care about their project and that you know what you're doing. Which leads me to my next point surrounding some limiting beliefs that could be preventing you from charging more. So something that I really want to emphasize is that being cheaper, it's really not a competitive advantage. And often we could be tempted to discount our services before we even present the quote to the client because we might have a fear that they won't be able to afford us, or that they'll ghost us, or they'll just go elsewhere because they think we're too expensive. And these thoughts then start to impact how you value your work and your worth. I have a student inside my course, Become a Brand Photographer, that said when they presented their quote to a client, their client actually questioned their skills because the quote was perceived as too cheap. And so from the client's perspective, it's like, oh, so can you actually do the job? Like, do you have the skills and the knowledge to do the job well to the quality that I need and expect? And of course my student does, but their pricing didn't communicate that. So there was a disconnect between quality of work and the service the photographer could provide and how they priced the project. And so often we think the reason that we get ghosted is because, oh, they must think I'm too expensive, where it could actually be, oh, they're too cheap. They mustn't know what they're doing, so I'll look elsewhere. And this is a huge reason why you need to approach your pricing in a systemized and carefully thought out process to ensure that you are actually valuing your work correctly. And the way to do this is what I mentioned in the first half of this video, by gathering information, using a pricing calculator to break down your projects, and drafting up a professional proposal that communicates your value. Now, if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, Amanda, but how do I do all those things? I invite you to check out my online course, Pricing for Product Photography, which is going to give you all the tools and resources you need to price your projects. There is a pricing calculator inside the course for you. I teach you how to calculate licensing, how to draft a proposal and an invoice, and what you need to include, as well as mindset exercises to help you identify and start shifting limiting beliefs that might be preventing you from charging more for your work. So I will leave that link in the description box below for you. And so if you realize that you are undercharging for your work, or you want to increase your prices, it may not actually be a problem with the quality of your work. It might be something to do with your customer experience. It could be something to do with how you approach pricing and all limiting beliefs that are getting in your way. Because you see, earning more money and booking your dream clients in your product photography business, it really isn't all about the quality of your work. It's other things like your systems, your processes, and your personal development that support you in getting you to that next level. So go and watch this video next, which outlines 3 real reasons why you may not be booking clients, or you're not booking your dream clients. Now, if you have any questions on anything I've covered in this video, leave your question in the comment. Let me know how I can help you. Let's have a conversation. Let's chat.